Well, hello everyone, Texie88 here, and welcome to another video. And now it's another one of those where I look at a film that I bought on physical media. Now, this film, Vinasusenki, as it was called in its original Japanese um, language, which literally translates to Venus War Story, but it was just given the English name Venus Wars without we're ditching the word story and pluralizing the word war. This was originally released on VHS back in the 1990s in the wake of Akira being such a success and giving us Brits our first real taste of not only Japanese animation in a much bigger way than before, but also allowing for some which are aimed at more mature audiences. And in the wake of Akira being released, Venus Wars was one of the films that Manga Video, as they were called at the time, were able to license and distribute. And it became one of my favourite anime films, and it never officially came out on DVD, which was kind of a shame because I was hoping that sometime in my lifetime it would get an official UK re-release and have the ability to watch it in its original Japanese language with English subtitles. And thankfully, thanks to all the anime, in April 2024, I just happened to catch an advert on one of their social media pages saying that just 2 days hence they were about to officially release the film on Blu-ray in the UK officially. And of course, being how much I love the film back in the 90s, I jumped at the chance to order it, especially seeing it was possible to watch it in its original Japanese language with English subtitles, and that it was given a 1080p lick of paint. And at last I've got it. And it's quite interesting to see just how different at times the English dub that was on the Manga Video release all those years ago deviated somewhat from what the people were really saying in the original Japanese. And another thing that's changed is that the original UK VHS release from the 1990s was given a BBFC PG certificate. This has now gone up to 12. Back when it came out on VHS, the 12 rating, although it did exist, only existed in cinema. It hadn't at the time been possible to apply it to home releases, as there was still a change that needed to be made to the Video Recordings Act 1984 in order to accommodate it. So films didn't start getting 12 ratings on home formats until 1994. But anyway, although all the anime released a Manila UK Blu-ray release, this is actually the limited edition one, which contains what's in the Manila release plus this snazzy box with the rather cool cover art there of one of the main protagonists of the film, Hiro, who's one of a bunch of bike racers who call themselves the Killer Commandos. And there's what it looks from the side, and there's the spine, and the back of the box is just the logo. And when it was in its original shrink wrap, it had this overlay. For some reason, the overlay was not actually taped to the box the way these sort of things normally have been on similar releases with similar approaches. So we got some pictures from the film on that little slip. There's Hiro again, and a little bit of blurb about what the film's actually about, and the contents of this set. And there you can see it's got audio, Japanese, English, 1080p, 69 aspect ratio, English subtitles, 105 minutes long. And the director is Yoshikazu Yasuhiko. And he was actually the one who did the original manga upon which this film is based. Now, Venus Wars originally came out in 1989, and the actual manga run went from 1986 to 1990, and this is actually referenced just before the film starts. And when we actually look at what's inside, here's the disc. Well, here's the case containing the disc. There's the disc itself. Not really much to show inside, but the main thing about this limited edition thing is this rather interesting book, which has lots of cool artwork and some what look like concept art of some of the vehicles and characters that appear in the story. Now, I was I have to admit, I was a little bit nervous about watching the film again, as I haven't seen it in several years, and I wondered whether I'd still enjoy it, because even back in the day, I'm not completely unaware of the problems that the film has, and I was worried that nostalgia would have made the film seem better than it actually was. But luckily, I do still enjoy it, and thanks to its 1080p lick of paint, I've got even more appreciation for the artwork and the generally stunning animation that's in it. I mean, no, it does have some fairly significant flaws. I mean, as I mentioned just now, it was trying to cram 4 years, nearly 4 years worth of manga story into a film that's not even 2 hours long. So similar problem affected Otomo Katsuhiro's Akira when he turned his books into the film that truly started the UK's fascination with anime back in the 1990s. And there are some bits in which the cell animation is sort of overlaid on top of footage of real background scenery, and that does look a bit jarring, especially as they did. As the cell animation was generally not animated on single frames, so the animation looks a bit jumpy because of it. And also the fact that the film was essentially a multi-volume story bit trying to be crammed into a film that's only 105 minutes long. It means that there aren't really that many characters that we can latch onto in there. So there are more than a few characters being introduced that literally just appear rather than necessarily being given any backstory to help a person necessarily be able to latch onto any of them. And yet somehow, in the same token, despite those flaws, the film still works. I love the atmosphere. I love the top quality artwork. Bear in mind, this was 1989, so no computers were used to do the artwork and animation. It was all done by hand, and there are some very technically impressive bits in the film, despite its age. In fact, according to the book, this was actually the last film that Yoshikazu Yasuhiko ever directed. And another thing that Venus Wars is notable for, particularly from my point of view, is that it gave me my first taste of music composed by Joe Hisaishi, who is best known for composing the music for a lot of the films produced by the Japanese animation studio called Studio Ghibli. In particular, the films under that studio that were directed by Hayao Miyazaki, such as Spirited Away, My Neighbor Totoro, Laputa Castle in the Sky, Nausicaa the Valley of the Wind, Howl's Moving Castle, Ponyo the Wind Rises, etc. And the music and songs are also incredibly good. And now I've had a chance to watch the film in its original language with English subtitles, thanks to it being included in this release, it's also interesting to see some of the things that got quite radically changed in the English dub. I mean, I'm not going to comment on those necessarily, as I might give away some spoilers. But one thing I will say that it's very easy to compare them, because the English dub that's in this is exactly the same English dub that was on the manga video release back in the 1990s. They didn't. My understanding is there is a later English redub that is closer to the content of the original Japanese version, but that has never made it to these shores. So anyone who doesn't typically watch non-English language films in their original language with subtitles, and who had or at least watched the VHS from back in the 1990s, will be listening to exactly the same audio that was present then. But what's interesting, as mentioned, despite the film's flaws, it's still surprisingly enjoyable. I mean, if you're willing to have an open mind and don't mind some rather poor character development and a lot of characters that it's hard to latch on to, then there's still a lot to enjoy about the film. And I'm certainly glad that I still enjoy watching it even after all these years. There are a couple of very brief moments in the Japanese version where some lines of dialogue weren't subtitled. Whether that was a mistake or whether they were just trying to keep a comfortable reading speed, I'm not absolutely certain, but there were literally just a couple of moments in which there were people speaking, but no subtitles were appearing. I mean, it's literally just a couple of brief bits, so I don't think it was enough to spoil the story. So, but it's just something that I noticed, and I also noticed that the song that plays during the end credits, there are a couple of subtitles that got transposed, and that was very easy for me to pick on because I watched the film so often back in the VHS days, and even on that, the lyrics for that particular song were subtitled. So that particular mistake stuck out like a sore thumb to me, but again, it doesn't really dampen my opinion of the film. I still enjoy it, and if into anime, I still think that despite the story's flaws, it's one of the better anime films from Japan that ever got an official release in the UK. And I think I'd recommend it to quite a lot of people, especially as the 1080p remaster that's been given makes it look and sound better than ever. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope to catch you on another one soon. Texie88 out.